Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Stargate theory. This theory is based on a comment I got recently about whether the Serrakin are an offshoot to the Unas. I found the idea interesting since the Serrakin are my favorite alien race in Stargate, and I want to look at the possibility of it being true. The way I see it, there are three main pillars this theory stands on. First is that there is a precedent for offshoots to the Unas. This comes from the Stargate SG-1 First Step Stargate Unexplained Worlds role-playing sourcebook, which introduced the Kakan. They were a divergent breed of Unas that evolved to be more intelligent after being abandoned by the Goa'uld. Their intelligence is described as being more or less equal to humans, though their thought process tends to be more ordered and logical, making them good problem solvers but poor innovators. They tend to be more cooperative and community-minded in their behavior compared to the Unas. Physically, they are also smaller and weaker than their Unas cousins, even lacking the claws the Unas have, though they do have long nails. One final thing to know about them is that while they are peaceful, they are willing to defend themselves against outside threats to their community. The reason I bring up all these traits is that, well, doesn't it sound like some of these traits could apply to the Serrakin? More intelligent, lacking some of the Unis's more feral features, for lack of a better term, generally peaceful but willing to fight? Now, I'm not saying the Serrakin and the Kakan are the same race. They don't share all the same traits. For example, I wouldn't say the Serrakin are smaller than the Unis, though I would say that the Serrakin are not as strong as the Unis. The main point is that if the Serrakin are an offshoot to the Unis, it would make sense that they share some traits with another offshoot race. And like I said earlier, the mere existence of the Kakan proves that offshoots to the Unis race can happen. The second pillar is that we actually don't know where the Serrakin come from. The earliest point in their history we know of is when they freed the Heberdans from the Goa'uld. But the Serrakin are not native to Heberdan. We don't know where they originally came from, or for that matter, why they traveled to Heberdan in the first place. Was it a colonization mission? Did they have to flee their original homeworld? We just don't know. The idea that the Serrakin are an offshoot to the Unas could be a possible explanation. Remember, the Unas were in the Goa'uld Empire and were the main dominant host race long before humans. Despite the fact we only ever saw 3 planets with Unas in the show, they would have to have been just as spread out as humans, maybe more so. And they would probably have the same amount of worlds that the Goa'uld just abandoned. Depending on when they would have been abandoned, they would have had time to evolve traits different from the Unas. Jonas himself developed differences between himself and the people of Earth, and his ancestors and the people of Earth had only been separated by a few thousand years. Finally, we get to the final point, similarities between the Unas and the Serrakin themselves. And there's a bit of a problem here, as this is the weakest pillar. In fact, it's so weak it actually somewhat disproves the theory a little. For similarities, they do seem to have similar skin tones, green to brown, and similar ear hole things. But going more in depth, we find more differences than similarities. For one, Unis eyes are more similar to slits, while the Serrakin eyes are closer to humans. Same thing goes for their noses as well. But really, the biggest difference is their hands and feet. We can't really do a good comparison with the feet, as Serrakin wear shoes, but I'm willing to bet money that the Serrakin's foot is more similar to the human's foot, while the Una's foot seems to have 4 digits and is much more wider than a human's foot. For hands, the Unas have 4 fingers with claws, while the Serrakin have 5 fingers on each hand. Like I said, this is the weakest pillar. Surface-wise, they do look similar, but looking more in depth, there appear to be many differences. Though there are possibilities to this explanation, the first being evolution, though I think there's a bit of a problem there. I know earlier I said that given enough time, the Serrakin could have evolved traits different to the general Unas, but given how radical some of these traits are, such as growing an extra finger and various other changes, it seems like you need millions of years to do that. But the Goa'uld Empire is not millions of years old, so it seems like there wouldn't have been enough time to develop these radical changes. Another possibility is that the Serrakin are the result of genetic modifications. Maybe some system lord tried to modify the Unas to be more like humans, but something happened, he was killed, and the Serrakin were abandoned, and later went off and found Heberdan. That would explain why the Serrakin have some human features and why they can have children with humans, which as far as we know the Unas can't. However, I doubt many have tried. But yeah, that's the three pillars that this theory stands on. What do you all think? Do you like the idea of the Serrakin being an offshoot to the Unas? Or do you think they should remain their own separate race? Do you have your own ideas I didn't cover in this video? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, leave a like and subscribe, and remember,
he is my younger brother.
Ah, yes, I see the family resemblance. It's uncanny, boys.